Hey, it's Jacqueline. We're going to take a minute to make sure you're super comfortable with all the car parts you're going to have to know for your pre-drive checklist. You probably know that your driving test begins with the examiner standing outside of the car. Your left window has to be rolled all the way down, and the examiner is going to ask you to demonstrate that you know how to use all of the car's equipment. So let's get started. We're just going to pretend like the examiner is asking you to turn on and off a few things, and I'm going to model how that's done. So, we'll start by putting the left turn signal on and turning it off. Right turn signal on and turn it off. We also have to be able to put on the hazard lights and release them. They sometimes call them emergency flashers, so make sure you know both words. They're going to ask you to honk your horn. They're going to ask you to turn on and off your headlights. They're also going to ask you to turn on and off your windshield wipers. And they're going to ask you to point to where you would put on your window defrosters. So just make sure you know where that button is. It looks like the windshield wiper with warm air flowing up to clear the windshield. They'll ask you to tap your foot brake, and that's just your regular brake. They want to make sure you know how to use the brake before they get in the car with you. And they'll ask you to put on and release your emergency parking brake. In my car, I use my left foot to put that on and off. In some cars, it's a pull of a lever in the middle. And in some of the newer cars, it's just a little button that you would pull right here. After showing all of those auxiliary equipment, you will also be asked to stick your left hand out the window and show that you know your hand signals. If I was going to ask you to do an L, I know you would do left. You would stick your hand out to the left, right? Palm flat, hand out to the left. If I want you to do right, you're going to make a right angle with your arm. And to stop, you're just going to twist your hand down so you make a flat paddle with your palm to show that you want people to stop. It's never happened to me that my turn signals have broken and I've had to stick my hand out the window, but I know people that it has happened to. So it's really important that you know your hand signals in case you need to use them. And also when you're driving around with cyclists, if they use their hand signals, you want to make sure you know what they're telling you. We've practiced all of our auxiliary equipment. After you demonstrate that you know how to use the car, the driving examiner is going to come get in the car with you, and they're going to be your passenger. You're going to make sure anyone who ever gets in your car puts on their seatbelts. If you're driving with friends, you're going to say, hey, friends in the back, put on your seatbelts, because you know that as the driver, if somebody didn't have their seatbelt on, it would be your responsibility, and you would get the ticket for that person. Plus, you want to make sure that you're a part of keeping them safe. So everyone in your car always puts on their seatbelt. After the examiner is seated comfortably with their seatbelt on, you'll begin by driving out of the DMV parking lot. You'll do between a 10 and 20 minute drive around the neighborhood of the DMV, and they'll ask you to show a specific set of skills. In every DMV around the state of California, you use the same testing instrument. It's a calibrated test, and all the expectations are the same. So you should be able to pass your driving test in any DMV in the state of California because you're a good driver. After the pre-drive checklist, exit the parking lot safely and drive around following all the rules of the road. Return to the parking lot safely and park your car. And then the examiner will review your score sheet, tell you the things you did perfectly, tell you if you lost any points. You're allowed to miss up to 15 points and still pass your test. So as long as you don't miss too many points, you'll be given your score sheet back, and you'll go back into the DMV where you will turn in your score sheet, and they'll give you something that looks very much like your permit, but it's your driver's license and your real driver's license will come in the mail in 3 to 6 weeks. So from pre-drive checklist to getting your driver's license in the mail, the in-between part is up to you. Set your intention that on your driving test and always you're going to follow the rules, you're going to do your traffic scanning, you're going to be prepared to yield if you need to, you're going to be prepared to go when it's your turn, you're going to keep your speed calibrated, you're going to use good steering control, good lane positioning, and you're going to make safe right and left turns. You're going to clear every intersection safely, and you're going to do that specific task of pulling over to the curb, parking parallel, and then reversing 3 car lengths parallel to the curb. Those are the skills that are tested on every California driving test. So let's get out on the road. First, I'm going to put my car in drive, prepare for my left lane change, which always starts with checking the rear view mirror and getting a sense of the entire road behind me. Then putting on my turn signal, waiting until it's safe. So I'm noticing cars passing by. I can see them in the rear view mirror and the left mirror. And so I just wait until it's safe. Then I check my blind spot, and I only enter into the road when I know that it's clear. All the way down the road, I'm going to be doing my traffic scanning, and you're going to be able to, I hope, notice my eyes scanning and my safe reaction to anything in my way. But what I want to talk about while we're driving is how we clear intersections. There are expectations that you're going to scan as you approach the intersection, noticing if it's controlled or uncontrolled, that you're going to be able to go across the intersection and land appropriately in the appropriate lane. And I know I'm doing that because I come in centered over my speed limit stamp. And there's an expectation that we notice when we have to stop at intersections. So I noticed the red light. Of course, I noticed the cars stopping ahead of me. And so for this intersection, I would get a little circle, and that would mean full credit. When we come to an intersection and we have to stop, we're evaluated for our stopping distance at the limit line or our stopping distance behind the car in front of me. And I am always going to stop so that I can see a little bit of ground behind the back 2 tires of the car in front of me. And that's how I estimate adequate stopping distance, which is outlined in the California Driving Handbook as a distance of 7 to 10 feet behind the car. On your score sheet, there are 8 sections for intersections. And at each intersection, there's a criteria that they're scoring. It always starts with traffic check. That is the most important thing that you're going to be evaluated on the entire time you're driving. You're also going to be evaluated on your safe speed. So if you were going even 2 miles over the speed limit through an intersection, you would lose a point. I notice the yellow visuals, the reminders that I have to look for pedestrians before I clear the intersection, even though I have the right of way and it's a green light. If there was a pedestrian that was stepping out into the road, I would always stop. And I wouldn't stop just anywhere. I would stop at these white triangles where the sign says, "Yield here to pedestrians." Here I am. I'm the first car at the intersection. I'm going to watch the red light. And when it turns green, I know that green means go, but it only means go if the intersection is clear. So when the light turns green, I'm going to do a quick scan before I pop out because I want to make sure there isn't a pedestrian or a cyclist or a car that's trying to clear the intersection. I'm stopped perfectly behind my limit line, which is how I get full credit on my driving test for being stopped in perfect position at the limit line. And I don't know if you can tell, but there's a car to the right that is beyond their limit line. and they would lose a point on their driving test. We're having really good green light luck. That must mean that we've stored some good driving karma. Here's our yellow light. We noticed it when we were 3 car lengths back from the limit line. You felt that we came to a nice smooth stop, plenty of time to allow the bicyclist to pass. We also noticed that we're perfectly positioned with the car next to us. We're parallel, there's a nice space, we're behind the limit line, so we're in perfect position at the intersection. And at this next intersection, I'm going to make a right turn. As I'm approaching, I scan mirror and blind spot to go over the bike lane to the right side so I can position myself for my right turn. I notice it's a 4-way stop, so I just take turns, and I always turn right into the right lane when I'm turning onto a 2-lane road. And now I'm going to follow this road around, scanning at every intersection, making sure I understand who has stop signs and if I have the right of way. Scanning every corner just to see if there's any pedestrians, keeping my speed calibrated with the speed limit at 25 miles an hour. And just doing that work all the way up the road, scanning, maintaining my lane position, and clearing each intersection safely. So your job when you're on your driving test is to show the examiner that you understand that intersections are dangerous. It's a place where a lot of people cross, and your job is to get across safely, following all the road rules, noticing if there are any hazards, yielding if you have to, and going when it's safe to match the flow and the expectations of traffic. The traffic engineers have done a lot of work to measure the intersections and paint the limit lines exactly where they need to be to help us know where to do our first stop, and if we need to, where to do our second stop for better visibility. I'm going to make a right turn at this intersection, and I'm going to follow that same pattern. First stop at the first limit line so I can do my sidewalk check, but I can't see well enough to make my turn. So I advance to the second limit line until my left mirror is right on top of the second limit line, and from here I can see all the way around the curve to make my safe turn, entering the intersection and getting my speed up. We have uncontrolled stops, like this intersection up ahead, where we have a stop sign, but traffic from the right and left doesn't. We have yielding intersections, where we have to look out for other cars, go if it's safe, but yield or stop if we have to, if other cars are going. And now I'm going to practice reversing. Parallel to the curb, clearing the driveway ahead of me, and coming to a full stop, parked on the side of the road. I hope that this video has given you a better sense of what the examiners are looking for. And the most important things for you to remember are: always do your traffic check, keep your speed regulated up to the speed limit, make sure you yield if you have to, go when it's your turn. When you stop, make sure you do a full stop behind the limit line or with a safe gap behind the car ahead of you. Thank you for doing this important learning. I would love to hear how you're feeling. Drop a comment and let me know how you feel about driving through intersections, if you have any questions, and if there's any learning that you need to help you really understand this part of the driving test. Stay safe. See you soon.